Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I've got a lot of fun DIY home decor crafts for you today. Also today I'm going to be joining in with a sweet friend of mine, so I'll share those details with you a little bit later. But what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be making fall home decor using lots of Dollar Tree supplies. So let's get started with project number 1. For this project, nice and easy but packs a punch, we're going to be using 4 of these craft wood pieces from Dollar Tree. I call them slat boards for some reason. These are the 12-inch long ones. And then we're going to use 1 of these longer ones there, which I think is probably about 18 inches long, and I'm going to cut off just about an inch. If you don't have access to a machine or anything to cut that off with, or even a miter box and saw here like I've got, just leave it the length it is. But, you know, I just wanted an inch off. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and arrange our boards in order with the long one in the center and then 2 shorter boards on either side of that long board. So I'm just kind of seeing how these fit together. And then I'll just use some wood glue here. I like to put it on with a paintbrush so that I get it really nice and thin. And then, like, not all over my hands. Wood glue is kind of hard to get off your hands. It, like, just peels forever. But anyway, this just helps me to get a nice thin layer most of the time, because I do get questions like, why are you using a paintbrush to put that on? That's my reason, and I'm sticking to it. Once I've got one side done with the wood glue, I'm just putting some heavy paint containers on there, and then I'll go ahead on this other side, add some wood glue here to get this put together, of course. Once I get the glue in place here, I'm going to get my little square here and just make sure I've got the bottom all nice and lined up. And then I'll go ahead and, remove those paint containers and just go ahead and clamp it top and bottom for at least a good half an hour to get everything nice and secure, dried, and ready to go. So here's what we've got. I'm going to just sand it outside a little bit. What I want to do is just round the corners here, all the way around and the top. And then I'm also going to just drill a little hole here. I end up drilling a bigger hole, as you can see here from what I started with the drill bit. I went to a larger one, and I've got everything all sanded off and ready to go. I'm going to use this Waverly Antique Wax mixed with water. I'm kind of down to the last little bit in my container because I know you want to know about this. And so I've just kind of filled it halfway with water. So I've just kind of got this watered down wax ready to go. Using it like a stain, of course, as you see here, this is such an inexpensive way to use this Waverly Wax, mixing it with water, using it like a stain. And of course I'm going to stain the front and back of this cutting board in its entirety. And then once it's all dry, I'm going to go ahead and sand it. As you can see here, I've distressed and sand it with my sanding tool outside, and now we're ready to go. So for this next step, I have tea dyed my own papers here, and I use papers from like an art book or from papers from like watercolor books. You can get these art books, watercolor books, and Walmart in their section, and it's a really easy method to do. I will put the link down below in my description box. I learned this from this YouTube video, this gal probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I've done it ever since. It's easy as just mixing up some hot tea, and then you soak your papers in it, and then you put them into the oven for about 5 minutes, take them out, and once it's fully dry, now what I'm doing here is just ironing my paper because I want it to be nice and flat to go through my printer. Now I'm choosing this paper that came out of an art book with that spirally left edge, and with that left edge left on there, it's wider than 8.5 inch to go through my printer, so I have to take just a little bit of paper off that right side. Now what I'm doing, and I know you can't see it, but I'm just taking some of the Scotch tape and I'm pre-sticking it to my pant leg first to kind of get some of the sticky off so that I can put that right over that spiral edge so that that edge won't get stuck when it goes through my printer, and then the tape will be easy to come off later, of course, because it's not so sticky. So I created this quote here. I will have a free printable for you on my blog, and then you can just print it out onto your tea dye paper if you choose to do that method, or just like onto some regular cardstock or something like that. But yes, I will have that there for you. And then here you can see it's just nice and easy. Just kind of got to hold down the little pieces here, but that Scotch tape will come right up since we, again, for the 3rd time, as I've said, remove some of that sticky material there, because I just wanted this to look like, obviously a little sheet of notebook paper kind of, hanging on our cutting board. So once that's done, you all know me, I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I like to sew on my papers, so of course I'm doing that. I've got a size 9 or 10 needle depending on manufacturer. I'm using all polyester thread. That's what my machine likes, but you can use all cotton thread in case we have a first-time viewer here. And my tension set on 4. My stitch length is on the widest width, which is 4, and I just sew on it. There's no rhyme or reason to it. If you start and try this process and your holes are a little bit big from your needle, then just go down a size on your needle. It's just trial and error to find what works for you, but this works perfectly wonderful. I'm going around it twice and not making sure that it's all, you know, nice and even. I want it to look all kind of cattywampus just so it makes it really cute, and you can see here what it looks like. And then I'm going to take the open end of my scissor blades and I'm just going to scrape along the edges of the paper nice and gently, because our paper's been treated, and this is kind of a thin art paper that came out of the book I bought at Walmart. You could probably see what Dollar Tree even has for watercolor paper. Art paper would work wonderful too. I've got a large paper clip here that I get at Hobby Lobby in the scrapbooking section. Comes in like a set of 4, I always call them paper clips, clothespins. And then I'm taking some cardboard with my Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, and I'm just going to put it on the back. I'm not going to smooth it all the way on the back. I just want to add some stiffness to the paper. In fact, you're going to see me lifting up here and kind of wrinkling it up onto that cardboard a little bit. I'll show you from the side what it looks like. It's not on there all the way. See, I'm leaving it like that. I just want a little bit of stability on there. And then I'm going to take some of this fabric from Dollar Tree, Crafter's Square, and I'm just going to, about a 1 inch wide, make a little slit with my scissors and pull and rip on that fabric. I thought it'd be really cute here. You can make these for all seasons, and I thought would be cute, of course, is make a little bow with that fabric for some decoration. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. I'm going to use some really thick twine here I get from Walmart and just, you know, make a little hanger at the top, tie a little knot at both ends of our thick twine here, cut off the excess. And then we'll come back to the bow. I'm just going to tie a little bow and I'm going to glue it onto the paper, not into the clothespin. That way you can change it out for different seasons. And then also in the final looks, you're going to see at camera, I'm like, it just needs a little something else. So I tucked a cute little couple of little leaves and an acorn from a pick, just kind of slid it right under the clothespin. Works fine, but if you make ones for all seasons here, you can just kind of stack them up as you store and then change it, of course. So I arranged my ribbon how I wanted it there, and I'm going to just bring in my Fabri-Tac glue and just do a little bit of spot gluing here so it stays in place and looks all really, really cute. I just think this is so fun. I love the idea. See, I'm going to pull it out here nice and gently and then just kind of glue it right at the knot. And then, of course, once I do that, that makes this project complete. So let's see who I'm joining with today for some fun fall crafts. Today I have the pleasure to be again working with Tracy, whose YouTube channel is Country Charm by Tracy. We have collaborated before. We just love the same kind of country rustic charm, and it just unites us in our crafty endeavors. I'm sure none of you need no introduction to Tracy's channel. Her creative imagination is absolutely amazing with easy to follow crafts for all your home decor needs. Tracy's the sweetest soul on the planet with a zest for life, and it shows in all things she does. I will make sure, of course, that I have a link down below to her main channel page and, of course, to her video where she's going to show us today what she's going to be working on and sharing and showing us how to make. I'm so excited to see that. These are just some of her beautiful crafts, country rustic crafts that she makes. You can just see how awesome they are. Please, 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 after you watch my video, make sure you head over to Tracy's channel and, let her know I sent you. Show her some love. I promise you will not be disappointed with what she's going to come up with today. With that said, let's move on to project number 2. For this project, yes, we're making another fabric pumpkin. I'm going to be using this batting that I got from Walmart. You can buy it by the yard. And then I'm also going to be using this pumpkin pattern I had cut out of cardboard a few years ago. It's 18.5 inches in diameter. And of course, I already cut my fabric out using this pattern. And then I'm going to be using this chunky chenille yarn also that I got at Walmart. It's about $6 a skein. You don't quite use the whole thing, but we're going to make it fun. I'm going to start by using some of this fishing line. Now you can use yarn or crochet thread or whatever you want. It's a 30-pound test. That doesn't really matter, but I like to use fishing yarn because I do stuff my pumpkins very tightly. And I know I've shown this on lots of my videos, but I never know, of course, if someone new's coming in to check things out. I use either these yarn darner needles that you can get from Walmart, under $2 for 7 needles, or even this one that says doll needles on it. It's 5 of them, again, under $2 for a pack. I get them because of the large eye opening there to be able to get this fishing line through. And now I use fishing line because it does not break when I stuff my pumpkins so tight. So I'm going to start off by tying one end into several knots here because fishing line is really, really, really slick. So I tie a ton of knots here, about 5 or 6. And then I'll grab some little pliers here and just pull it really, 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 really tight so our knot will not slide out. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're going to start from one side here. I'm going to poke our needle about 1/2 inch from the top, and I'm going to go about probably a 1/2 inch length in stitches. And you can see I'm not all the way going out with my needle. I'm leaving part poked out so I can immediately come back in to the fabric. And you can see about a 1/2 inch part. Now those stitches, if they get wider or close together, perfectly fine. And what I'm going to do is go back through with my needle to the back of the fabric and then bring it right back through to the front of the fabric. To the back of the fabric, right back through to the front of the fabric. As you can see here, we're kind of doing a little pleating action here. This is like a gathering stitch so that we can gather our pumpkin together and close it once the stitches are all the way around our shape here. To the front, again, back to the front. And I just do however many I want, till my needle kind of gets full. Front to the back to the front, just like that all the way around. And then once I've got, I think how many is on here, 6 or 7, I just go ahead and pull it all the way till I reach the end of my knot on my fishing line. Just like that. Then I'll go ahead and just show you a little bit more here. Again, we're going to go from the front to the back. Front, back, front, back, front, back, front, back, completing it all the way around. Get a bunch on your needle again, and then go ahead and pull it through. Continue this process. I'll do the rest off camera till I come right close to my knot, and I'll show you kind of how I finish it off. Here I'm close to my knot, so I'm going to do a little bit more pleating. Okay, just like that. You can see I'm about a 1/2 inch away from my knot there. I'm going to go ahead and pull this through, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull my needle off of that fishing line. Again, you can use yarn or crochet thread if you don't stuff pumpkins really tight. Then I'm going to pull that knot there. I'm going to pull that out so it becomes really long as my other piece of fishing line there. Okay, that way it doesn't come out. All right, doesn't, the stitches don't come off of the fishing line. And then I'm just going to come in and stuff it. Now I'm actually using this snow glimmer blanket thing that I got at a garage. So I think it's for Christmas because you can see all the glitter in it. But what the heck, it's stuffing, right? So I'm going to go ahead and stuff my pillow, kind of for like $1 for this whole bag. I mean, that's just cheap. You can use which I often do. I buy pillows at like Walmart or our other local store and use that for stuffing as well. Just kind of, poofing my pumpkin here to see how much more stuffing I'm going to need in there. Once I get to where I want an opening of about, 2.5 to 3 inches, just somewhere in there. And then I'm going to tie a bunch of knots again with my fishing line to secure that in place. We want a nice opening here, okay? I tie about, 7 or 8 knots here, of course. And then I cut off the excess. I leave the tails kind of long again, so just for me, so it doesn't slip out. And then we're going to come around to the bottom side here. I know this is weird, but I'm using a Sharpie to kind of mark a nice large hole here. I'm going to cut that felt off because we want a gathering on the bottom like we had on the top. And I'm coming back in with my needle. Doesn't have to be nice and neat. Back in with my needle and fishing line, and I'm doing that gathering stitch again. Okay, and I'm going to bring it all the way around, in and out. We just did this on top, so it should be easy. I'm going to go all the way around till I get back again to my knot here. kind of fast forward it for you. And I'm going to do the same process. Pull my needle off the edge, get my knot section there and pull that out so they're both about the same length, nice and long tails. I'll probably have to pull some stuffing out here. It's kind of full. See, I'm just a little bit over what I have on top. I'm about a 3-inch opening here. That's perfectly wonderful. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie my knots here and cut off the excess and tuck the rest inside. So now we have a opening on the front or the top and the bottom. Just like that. I know it's funny, but believe me, it'll be cool in the end. So we're going to take that chunky yarn. The first thing I'm going to do is just decide I'm going to come around my pumpkin and see how long I need it, just till it kind of meets in the middle. All right, and then I'm going to start cutting all my pieces that length. And I end up with about 35 pairs of yarn, so because I counted how many things went around. You can see them all cut here. And what we're going to do, so you have about 70 individual pieces, 2 pieces to a pair, right? So we're just going to put a little glue on the top and bottom. You can use hot glue here, and I'm going to kind of pinch it together. So we have a little kind of circle there, and pinch our top and bottom together and set it aside. And I'm going to do this on all my little pieces here. Again, like I said, I ended up with about 35 pairs of yarn here by the time I got all my 2 pieces glued together. And then we're just going to twist it just like that, okay? And we're going to be able to tuck it into, I'm going to twist a little bit more here. We're going to tuck it. This is why we got a top and bottom piece, because we need that bottom opening to be able to tuck the yarn in. Okay, so we're going to glue it in there with Fabri-Tac or hot glue, and then we're going to come to the top and glue that into that opening. And then we're going to do another one. I'm not going to do all of them, but I'm going to just show you here. Again, twist, just gluing it right next to that first one we placed. And these holes will get filled up with this yarn, promise. And then glue it right next to the place on the bottom. And then I want to make sure that they're kind of stay together in the middle between each set, you know, so I'm just going to add a little glue here and push them together so you don't see any of the spacing or see any of the batting underneath. I'm going to do another one here. I glued it first this time and twisted, so whatever, you know, process works best for you, it doesn't matter. I just love the texture on this pumpkin by making it look twisted and kind of braided. Okay, I'll go ahead and glue this one to the one previous to it. Again, to kind of cover that batting down below so you don't see that. And then I'm going to come along to the other side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the opposite side. I'll show you 3 here and then I'll do the rest off camera. Now, you don't have to do it like I'm doing here. It was just easier for me to kind of do, you know, 3 on one side and then come directly across and do 3 on the other side. And then in the spaces between those 2 sections, I do the same thing and then I just start filling it in. But however easy you want, you can just go from wherever you start and just work yourself all the way around in one continuous motion. I just found it kind of easier to do it this way. To get everything, you know, into position and be able to kind of fill in the stuff. It just kind of worked nicer and easier for my brain. So however you want to get these on there, any way you do it's going to work great. And as you see on the top, I leave that opening kind of in the center, and on the bottom I'm making sure I bring them all together. So see, I left an opening, and on the bottom I'm making sure my pieces are joining up together. But we need that hole there because as you're tucking this chunky yarn and you're coming around, you need to be able to tuck that yarn kind of down into that batting to make room for the next layer of yarn, so that way it's not too chunky on the bottom and our pumpkin doesn't stand up. It looks nice and flat on the bottom as it does right here. So you need that opening in the bottom to be able to tuck all that chunky yarn into. But as you see, the top is open, and what I'm going to do, I've just got a piece of a spindle here that I cut off. You can use anything for the top. I've sanded it because I didn't want it such a dark brown color. You can use a stick from the backyard or a piece of wood, whatever. Just use my beacon Fabri-Tac glue and glue that inside. And then I'm going to use this wire jute cord from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to get this into position and kind of twirl it around my stem and let it kind of hang off of the top edge to give it some personality, and then I'll just glue it in again with my beacon Fabri-Tac glue. And then I'm going to add a bunch of glue right around the area where that batting still shows, so I can cover all that batting up with some moss here. And I do add quite a bit. I just show a little bit on camera, but you'll see in the next step there's like a ton of moss. But that's because I wanted a ton. But that's how we'll cover up that batting. You can see there what it looks like. Now I've just got a couple of leaves here that came off of a pick from a Dollar Tree. And then I've got this really super pretty kind of plaid brown ribbon I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to glue that right up against those leaves. And then I've got this rope. I don't remember where I got it, but I'm going to tie a knot in the center. So it gives me some gluing room, and I kind of shredded the bottom. Off camera, you'll see in the final looks, we're at the bottom, I decided to tie a little knot at the end of each tail of this rope. Thought that looked a little better. And then I've got just a piece of this ripped fabric I had laying on my craft fabric pile or whatever. It tied a knot in it so I could glue that on there, just to add some texture. And then I add some raffia there. And then I found these cupcake picks from Dollar Tree. They're little acorns. They have pumpkins, acorns, and sunflowers. Yes, I bought them all. And I'm going to just kind of make those shorter. I'm going to break off because I don't need so much of the wood down there on the bottom. And then I'm just kind of sanding it to distress them a little bit. And then I'm going to use these spirally things that came in this little decorative pack from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to use some of these velvet pumpkins also from Dollar Tree. And we're going to go ahead and get our pumpkins right up over that raffia. See which space I want it here and where I need to add glue. Get our two pumpkins kind of squeezed together here, just like that. And then we're going to add in those little cute curly Q things. Those make cute little pumpkin tendrils, don't they? I just love it. So I'll add kind of one on each side here. And you could even like stain these too if you wanted them a darker color or something like that. Then I'm going to add in those cute little acorn picks. Off camera, I do add in some like beaded pine cones I got at Hobby Lobby. I'm also going to add a little quote here I printed out onto fabric. I'll make sure I have the free printable for you. Link in my description box. What I do is I just have an El Cheapy inkjet printer and I add a little tape to the top of my fabric. And this is Duck Fabric by Waverly brand at Walmart. It's kind of almost thick like a canvas, and my little El Cheapy inkjet printer, it'll grab that taped edge and just roll it through and print on it. I'm not going to say it's going to fit on every machine or work on every printer machine, but you know, you can try it. If it doesn't work, you know, you can do it on cardstock, anything like that. So what I did is I cut out that fabric in a circle and sewed around the edges, of course, and glued it onto this little wood slice. And then I'm going to take this wood slice and glue it right up under the pumpkins, and then that makes this project complete. Let's move on to project number 3. So for this project, it is my belief I don't make the best wreaths, but sometimes I just want to attempt one. So we're going to do that today. We're going to use 2 of these bamboo wreaths from Dollar Tree. We're going to bring in just a pick. I just want this leaves pick because I want to kind of use the lighter colored leaves, also from Dollar Tree. This beautiful burnt orange color hydrangeas from Dollar Tree. A couple of these burlap pumpkins as well, all from Dollar Tree. Now these are from Hobby Lobby. They're little cute pumpkins. I got them half off. They're about $2.50 a piece, but for a wreath, that's okay. And then I'm also going to bring in some of these flowers, again, from Hobby Lobby. I think they're about $7 half off. That's okay because I'm going to get a lot of use out of them. I'm going to bring in some of these I got at Dollar Tree last year, these kind of dried arrangements. Anything really you want to put on this. But I'm kind of going creams and burnt oranges for our wreath today. I've got 2 of those. And then I'm also going to bring in, this is just some trim that I got at Walmart. I thought it was really cute. I love it. And I'm going to bring in some of this beaded kind of pitberry pick found at Goodwill. You know, guys know I've been using this, you know, for the last few projects and we'll continue to use. And some lights. I just have both of these because at this point I'm not sure which one I'm going with, but I'll probably go with the copper colored wire. So, and I know it, nobody freak out. I'm using my glue gun. I know it. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. It's going to happen for this wreath. So on one of these bamboo wreaths, the first thing I want to do is take some of this rope off. Now I only want to take the rope off about 3/4 of the way because I do want to leave one small section. You'll kind of see that here when I'm done, still tied up because I don't want the whole thing undone. Okay, so once I get to the one part, half of the wreath that I have undone with the twine, I'm going to kind of arrange those sticks and pull them apart a little bit and then add more twine in here to retie it back together. Okay, so my goal here is kind of half and half. I want the bottom portion to remain tied up, and then the top portion I want loose, so all those sticks and stuff are kind of hanging loose. So now I'm coming on the left side doing the same thing. I'm kind of undoing the twine up here. And this side, they're actually kind of, the sticks are kind of like upside down almost. So I'm going to have to kind of cut them off a little bit. You can see here I'm cutting them off, and then I'm going to turn them around so that that more little cute, whimsical, fluffy sticks are at the top. And then I'm going to get them into position and then tie it back up with some twine. And then you can see between the two twines I've tied, that twine is still there and keeping everything in place. And you don't have to do this. I just want to do that. Plus, it gives me more gluing surface for those gigantic pumpkins and flowers we're going to use. Okay, so then I'm going to, so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to take this kind of to the right side a little bit, and I'm going to glue it to that bamboo wreath underneath. Okay? I just thought that would look really cute. And then I'm going to take some twine, and again, even though I hot glued it, I don't know, I don't have much like confidence in hot glue unless I use like a ton of it. I'm going to still come back with some twine and tie both of them together as well, just to make sure nothing is going to come apart here. Perfect. Nice and tight, and all that twine will be covered because that's where we're going to glue most of our product here. Okay, now here's my light. I did go with the copper color. I've just got it wrapped around, and I'm going to leave it there for a moment. Okay, I've just kind of got it wrapped in around the top edge, not really at the bottom a whole lot, but mostly the top edge and kind of around to the sides a little bit. We'll kind of glue that on a little bit later. So I'm going to bring in some of those flowers from Hobby Lobby. You could use the beautiful sunflowers, the cream colored sunflowers, if you want to go the same colors I'm using from Dollar Tree. I almost did, but as I was ordering stuff from Hobby Lobby, and then this stuff was all like half off, I couldn't, pass these up. Just got some beautiful colors to work with on a bunch of projects. So I'm going to use 3 here of different sizes, 2 kind of to the front, and then 1 kind of on the inside of that wreath a little bit. Get this into position. And I end up where I put the battery pack here, I end up scooching it down almost right behind those flowers. You'll see that off camera. I'm going to add in 1 of those kind of, I don't know what these are called, these pumpkins here. I'm going to add 1 on this side of the flowers, kind of willow pumpkins or whatever you call. And then I'm using these sticky things from Dollar Tree to stick this onto with a little bit of hot glue as well to stick this onto my wreath. But I move that down, see where I move that down about the length of the battery pack. So where that battery pack is now, I move it down about 1 more battery pack length. Okay, because I just need a little bit more room to glue this pumpkin in on this side of my flowers, on the right side of the flowers. Okay, and then I wanted the pumpkin more on the inside, so I kind of changed it. After I got off camera, I'm like, something's not right here, so I moved that battery pack down and moved the pumpkin more to the inside. And then I'm going to put in these dried pieces from Dollar Tree, 1 on either side of our flowers, and a little bit of the pip berries as well. Kind of bring in some more of the orange tones. And then this is just something of my supply, some little dried flower things. I kind of shove those in there too. And all that glue will be covered up. I'm not letting that show. Getting everything glued in here. We'll come onto the left side and put the same things in. And again, with the other projects, I can't break from tradition. In the staging, you're going to see, again, some of those beaded pine cones I added in. I went to Joann's after this was all finished, and I found those beaded pine cones, so I just started adding them into my projects because I just thought it needed a little something more. Adding in that little dried floral and then the little beads on this left side. Getting that glued in here. I think this turns out really pretty. I'm happy with the way it turned out, even though I am no means exceptional at this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add in some of these orange burlap pumpkins here. Put 1 kind of to the inside there. On the other side, now you can see the battery pack has moved down, so I'm gluing it right next to the battery pack. And then I'm going to add one more pumpkin on this side. And it'll kind of hang, to the side there as the whole wreath hangs. It'll kind of hang to the right side there. And then I'm going to add in 3 little bunches from those hydrangeas here to kind of bring in a little trio of orange color here, right? Because we got the one pumpkin on the left, the one on the right, and then right down in the center is our orange hydrangeas. It gives us a nice little triangular vision trio of orange. Perfectly beautiful. Then I'm going to bring in some of these, nice kind of cream color leaves here. I'm going to bring in 3 of those because things look good in odd numbers, right? And it kind of brings the color of those flowers upwards as well. So you don't just have a big glob of, cream colored flowers in the center. We want to kind of tie that together. So we tie it together with our leaves and those little dried flower things from Dollar Tree. And that will just make this wreath look cohesive and uniform, make it look really nice. Look, we're professionals. We know what we're doing here. You can kind of see my lights are on and lit up, and I'll put those into position when I'm done. And I'm sorry I'm off camera here a little bit. I didn't realize, but I've got like some thin twine here, about 4 or 5 pieces together. I've tied into a bow. And then this other ribbon from Walmart, I tied into a bow. And of course, I'm putting that all right in that area that there was a glue glob. I told you earlier I was covering it up, and I did. Once I get that on there, that makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed all the projects I came up with today. Please leave me a comment down below. You know what I'm looking for. I want to know which project is your favorite. Please give this video a thumbs up. And if you wandered in here just by off chance checking things out, or maybe you're coming over from Tracy's channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're with us today. But if you like what you saw and you don't want to miss anything else, make sure before you click off, you hit that red subscribe button and notification bell. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. And I want you to know that this thought came to my heart, and I really, really feel that one or multiple of you need to hear what God is saying to you. You need to hear that your heart needs this, okay? Sometimes when we face a storm in life, we see the finish line and we want to run anyone or anything over to get to the end. But oftentimes, God wants us to focus on each step, not just the end result of the finish line. Our thoughts tend to look ahead and focus on the stress of the entire race, but God wants us to focus on one step and face the challenge before we take the next step. We can't worry about what's trying to block our view 5 steps ahead. We must focus on what Jesus has for us to get us through in that particular moment. Give Him what you can today, and let God worry about tomorrow. So pick up your foot and take your first step into the promised land. Take a breath and focus. Take one step at a time. Right foot, left foot. Right foot, left foot to finish the race. Walk in the guidance of your King. If you listen closely, you'll hear God leading you. This is the way, my child. Walk with me. Are you listening? Renew your strength in Him. Do not faint. Do not grow weary. God has called you by name. No power can separate you from God's love. I'll say that again. No power can separate you from God's love. He is God over your storm. Kneel at the feet of Jesus and find your healing in the midst of the thunder, the wind, and the lightning. Set your feet upon His name and what He will extend to you. He is the King of your body and soul. You are covered by His blood. The waters may rise, but your God is above all. He controls everything in your midst. He has a vision for your story. Let Him write it. He has a vision for your life. Walk in it. God's love is a perfect healing to the very depth of your soul. It never leaves. It never fails. You are not in a story of defeat. And I'll say that again. You are not in a story of defeat. This is your story of healing and victory. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.